Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Michael Siggins. I'm the publisher of Channel Pro, and I want to thank you all for joining us today. We've got a great webinar lined up for you today. The topic today is Dynamics 365 for Financials, and this is actually part 3 of our Tech Data and Microsoft series on New Technology webinar series. We're really very happy to have our presenter today, JJ Antiquino, and he's a partner and technology strategist at Microsoft. Before I turn things over to JJ, I just want to encourage everybody who's listening today, please stick around. We're probably going to go between 45 and 60 minutes. We've got a lot of great info to cover. And we also encourage you to participate by sending in chats or questions. And if you look down at the chat box at the bottom left of your window, you'll be able to type any kind of questions in there or suggestions for us as we move along today. If we do not get to your question, we will answer them as best we can during the webinar today. If not, someone will follow up with you, so don't worry about that. And also a link to the on-demand recording and also a PDF of the slides today will be emailed to you after the webinar concludes. All right, so enough from me, and now I want to pass things over to JJ Antiquino. JJ, please take it away.
All right, thank you very much, Michael, and welcome to today's webcast. You know, we're going to be covering a broad set of topics, and obviously Dynamics 365 for Financials will be a core component of this webinar today. But really what I wanted to do in our webcast today is help you really get to know Microsoft Dynamics 365 and kind of what we've done with the Dynamics family of solutions that you may have known as CRM Online. Right, and so we've really expanded what we're doing with Dynamics, and I think that we're trying to find that sweet spot for you and your customers to really delve into this new Dynamics family of solutions that you may have not done in the past. Now, obviously, if you've been great Dynamics partners, this is going to be an evolution of what you're doing today. But if you're just stepping into the field of creating great business solutions for your customers, I think you're going to be really excited by what we're providing with Microsoft Dynamics 365. So I'm going to kick this off really by telling you a little bit about what we've done in terms of changing the traditional business apps licensing that we've had in the past. As you may or may not know, we've had a great solution called CRM, and then obviously moving into the cloud space with CRM Online. And those were solutions that had a lot of things packed into them. You could do so many different things, very customizable, but we then started thinking about the right type of licensing that we want to provide to our users. And so when you take a look at the slide in front of you here, you're going to see that we kind of classify users within the Microsoft Dynamics 365 family of products as either full users, where you have kind of no limitations as to what you're able to do within the specific application or plan that you're being provided, or you could be a light user or team member who is still going to get a lot of great information around Dynamics 365, but you may not need to have all of that core power that a full user may need. And you'll see that there is quite a price difference between them, but still providing a tremendous amount of value, right? So a team member is going to be someone who is a light use, knowledge type worker, sharing some of the BI that you're going to find inside of these products, while the full users are going to be very powerful. However, they are going to be limited to what they're able to do based on the plan or specific app that they're going to purchase. Remember, like CRM Online, everything was kind of built in. You weren't really piece and parceling out the particular app because it was part of one big kind of solution, whereas we're doing it a little bit differently inside Dynamics 365. So just to be clear, Dynamics 365 is an evolution of what our older Dynamics products were called, and specifically CRM Online, at least for the conversation we're having today. And so when you think about the plans and the different editions of Dynamics 365 that are going to be available to you, one that is currently available is the one on the right-hand side called the Enterprise Plan, or the Enterprise Edition of Dynamics 365. The one that we feel is going to make a big splash, especially in the SMB space, is the one on the left-hand side called the Dynamics 365 Business Plan, or Business Edition. And if you're familiar with selling Office 365, then you're probably very familiar with the business plans of Office 365 and the enterprise plans like E1, E2, E3, E4, so forth, like how we had in the past. Obviously, some of those plans are a little bit different now. But the point is, they were kind of focused on not necessarily the size of the customers, but the actual needs of the customers. And obviously, size did play a role depending on which plan you were going to be purchasing. But just to reiterate and to be clear about what's going to be available to you today, it's the enterprise plan over there on the right-hand side. The business plan is set to launch in next calendar year, so we're going to see it in 2017. I don't have an exact date for you now, but they're working really hard to get this out because we believe it's going to be a huge benefit to a lot of our SMB-type customers. So just to kind of give you a brief, bullet-pointed view of these additions, the Dynamics 365 for Business Edition, when it does launch, is going to be optimized for 10 to 250 employees. It's going to include some products, and one that we're going to be talking about today specifically is Dynamics 365 for Financial. So that is going to be available inside the business plan. And incidentally, that particular application, when you take it out of the fact that it is, yes, going to be part of the plan, is available to you today. And so that's why I'm excited about going over that with you later on in the presentation. What you're going to see also inside of that plan coming in the future are the sales and marketing apps for the business plan. So they're going to be slightly different than what I'll talk about here in the enterprise version, but really, really kind of cool to see what's going to be coming out there. It is cloud only. So if you're familiar with CRM versus CRM Online, right, CRM being on premises, you only have a choice with the business plans of being in the cloud, and it is capped at 300 seats. So, for our traditional customers at Tech Data, that over 300 seats is a pretty large customer. So I think many of you will be able to fit inside that business plan once it does arrive. But let's go ahead and take a look and dive a little bit deeper into this enterprise plan that is available to you today. It's optimized for 250 plus employees, but with either of the plans, I did want to clarify that you can start off with a user base as small as 1. So there isn't any limitations to how small or large a customer has to be when they start on either of these plans. So you can definitely get started with the enterprise plan today, even if you only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 employees that need to take advantage of all this power. Basically, the enterprise plan is going to include all of the components that you're familiar with CRM Online. So CRM Online, as you may or may not know, it did go I wouldn't say end of life because we still have it running. If you have customers that are currently on it, they haven't been automatically upgraded or anything like that. They're still running on CRM Online. But what I'd like to say is that we stopped selling new SKUs of CRM Online starting on November 1st. But Dynamics 365. The enterprise plan includes everything that you're seeing in CRM Online today if you buy that plan. The enterprise plan also gives you online versus on-premises dual use rights. So if you do want to still run some CRM components or Dynamics 365 components on-premises, you get those dual use rights. Now, what I'll talk about when I go over the plans is that there are some plans that include the power of Dynamics AX. And so if you do decide to go with a plan that includes the components of AX, you will need to pay attention to the fact that you have to have a minimum user size of 20 if you're going to take advantage of that AX technology. Again, we don't see that as much at Tech Data or within the SMB space, but something to consider when you're evaluating this for your end customers. So to kind of give you a sense of what the enterprise offers you today, I wanted to show you this chart right here, and I'll kind of spell out a couple things in just a minute. But you can see here that the Dynamics 365 Enterprise Edition Plan 1, it's $115 for that particular plan, but it includes everything underneath it: Power Apps, Sales, Field Service, Customer Service, Project Service Automation, and Marketing as well. If we add on that operations piece that could be purchased separately for $190, you can see that you can complete Plan 2. Now, what you'll notice from this chart, which is hopefully pretty obvious, at least to me, is that if you want and only need to use one of those components, like sales, then they go ahead and just buy sales. But I'm going to tell you that most of your customers, once they see the power of what they're going to be able to use inside of Dynamics 365, they're going to say, I want sales. And even if they only want a small piece of customer service or field service, it makes sense for them to go ahead and upgrade to the full Plan 1. So let me kind of build out what I've got to kind of show you right here. There's a new app or new services within Dynamics 365 called Power Apps. But then basically all the CRM Online components that you're familiar with before November 1st, those are included inside the Enterprise Edition Plan 1. And essentially what operations is AX7. So if you're using Dynamics AX7, then you're probably already familiar with that. We just kind of rebranded some of this stuff and put it together. So basically, if you want to think about Enterprise Plan 1, what it is basically CRM Online plus the new apps, which are Power Apps in this case. Whereas the Dynamics Enterprise Plan 2 is essentially just Plan 1 with operations. So if you take a look, though, at what we're going to be offering inside that business plan, which again will be coming soon, I wanted to kind of give you an intro into that. Now, I don't have prices on here specifically because things are set to change, but you will find some documentation out there that will show you, for example, that the different individual components under here, like Power Apps, Financials, the new sales, new marketing apps that are set to come out, in 2017, those are individually about $40 each, okay, retail price. The business edition, once it comes out as a full plan, once everything else launches, will be $50. And so you can see again here, just like with the enterprise plans, it makes so much more sense for you to go ahead and purchase the whole plan than an individual solution or individual app, unless you really truly are specializing in that particular app. And that could be the case because you may have 100 people in your organization, and you'll say that of those 100 people in the organization, 25 of them need the full plan, but only 5 of them need sales. So you can mix and match in that regard. What I didn't mention inside of the previous slide is that there is, with the enterprise plan, is that there are those team member editions that we talked about, right? So team members are going to be kind of light users, right? They're not going to be able to do everything that you can do as a power user or as a full user inside the individual apps or the plans, but they are going to allow you to do a lot of cool things, and I'll show you a quick kind of chart on that in just a minute. So basically what you see here is that we are optimizing licensing for each company, okay? And so each user is going to be licensed for what they have access to or what you've actually paid for. And so you can have someone on Plan 1, you can have someone on Financial, you can have someone on Sales, you can have someone on Marketing, you can have a whole bunch of team members, and as I mentioned earlier, you can kind of mix and match. So if you're trying to decide, what you're going to do about who gets assigned what, just want to kind of point out, this little chart right here and kind of give you an example. You can see up at the top, right, on the right-hand side, what you're going to be getting here as a team member, as a sales app full user, or if you have special sales devices out there. Maybe you've got some people that are going out in the field and they've got a specific sales tablet or sales device that they're using. The licensing is going to be a little bit different because multiple users may be using that specific device, as opposed to someone that's using a sales app who has a per user license where they could be using it amongst all the number of collections of devices that they have. So just in general, you can see that all team members, sales app per user members, and then most of the things you see on a per device perspective are going to have the ability to essentially have anywhere access. They're going to be able to use mobile apps. They're going to be able to do a lot of reading of applications and data across there, and they're going to be able to take a look at some of the other team member functionality that everyone's going to have access to by, for example, taking a look at reading accounts and reading contacts, activities, taking a look at the knowledge base and reading these custom entities. But then you see here that when it comes to the actual edit functionality, here's where team members are not going to have that core power user or full user functionality because, as a team member, I'm not going to be in this day in, day out making changes, creating new things and editing things, right? That's what a full user or sales app user would be doing with that particular license. And then finally, down here, depending on, on the platform that they're on, versus online only, or being able to get access to this on a mobile device offline, you can see that there is going to be some differences there. But you can see there is also a tremendous savings between team members and full users, or per device type users. Whereas a team member in the enterprise plan space, that's only $10 per user per month. On the sales app and sales device, you can see that if they just buy the individual application as opposed to the plan, you're looking at about $95 per user per month or $145 per device per month. All right? So when I think about the channel availability of what's actually going to be a way for you to purchase this and sell this to your end customers, the Enterprise Edition is available in a lot of different channels, right? You can do it through an enterprise agreement. You can do it through an MPSA agreement. But where we see the biggest value and the way this scales across all of your customers and through Tech Data specifically is going to be through that Cloud Solution Provider Program, or CSP. That's doing business through Tech Data Stream 1 platform. And you'll notice that the only way to sell the Business Edition, I know I'm not talking too much about it, but we are going to talk about financial specifically here in just a second, is that the only way for your customers to get it is going to be through CSP. And that's what's so exciting about this conversation we're having today. Now, my discussion on Dynamics 365 for financials, we're going to go at this at a high level. Now, the good news is if you go to the Microsoft Partner University and you do a search for Dynamics 365 for financials, we've actually got a little bit of a deeper dive into the technical aspects of setting up Dynamics 365 for financials and what it really means. But I wanted to show you why you and your customers are going to want to consider Dynamics 365 for financials in the next few slides here. So the way we kind of kick this off is we go to our end customers and say, hey, Mr. End Customer, are you outgrowing your accounting system? And we can tell when customers are outgrowing their accounting systems when they have things like this happen to them. For example, there's insufficient reporting. So they're trying to run these reports, or they're trying to Frankenstein things together and pull things from different areas to try to create a report. Is that complicated? Is that insufficient? They're also seeing that there could be duplicate data entry into multiple systems. And what's funny is that this kind of talks about the manual processes in the middle there. People will just be doing these things inside of Excel or on notepads if they're more old school. They're trying to put all this stuff together, but it's really not very efficient. A lot of these systems are, if they do have them, are siloed. They're not consolidated. That's what I love about Office 365. How you have everything at your fingertips in that same location. And then finally, there may be security issues. There's lack of workflow. We want to make sure that if something were to happen, especially when it comes to money or finances, that there's some type of audit trail. And that's what Dynamics 365 for Financials is able to really provide. All right, so what are we going to do? What's the aim? What's the goal of Dynamics 365 for Financials? At a high level, and again, we try, as Microsoft and as a partner-facing organization here, with Tech Data and then also the SMB organization, is to really make sure that you can talk to your customers about this at a high level. We don't want to go necessarily into the speeds and feeds, right? So we want to make sure that you can tell your customers that with Dynamics 365 for Financials, you're going to be able to connect your business. And when you connect your business to the cloud, you're going to be able to make better decisions. And because you're connected to the cloud, you can start and grow easily. Like I said, if I have a business and I want to get started today on this, I can, and I can start off with just one user. And guess what? If my business explodes in a good way, and I'm able to grow, and I now have 500 users, I can scale with Dynamics 365. Something that's a little bit more difficult to do on premises, or even with some other third-party solutions out there. And so the core components of Dynamics 365 for Financials are the 5 things that you see up here on the screen right now. And what we're trying to do is make sure that with these 5 components, you can deploy a single and comprehensive solution that can pull everything together. And so we're talking about pulling together sales, financial management, purchasing, the inventory that you're taking care of, as well as managing these projects that are going along with this. And we can connect all this stuff together, with third-party applications. If I'm someone, for example, that is invoicing a customer, and I want to collect payment from them, we can link into, for example, PayPal payments, so they don't have to worry about inputting their own credit card information. I'm seeing a lot of that when I look at some of these online stores these days, right? And maybe you've got Yodlee bank feed services so that you can quickly reconcile payments by linking their system bank accounts back to some of their online bank accounts. So again, we're trying to make this all cloud connected and all integrated by pulling everything together across kind of these 5 core workload areas. So when I think about one of the biggest benefits of what you see with Dynamics 365 for Financials, I love this slide right here because it really speaks to the heart of why we're doing this and how this is integrated into everything that we're doing today around Office 365. We want you to be able to simply stay within Outlook, to be able to create your quotes and submit invoices and still have that continuous look and feel that you have in your daily work, right? If I'm in Outlook, and this is not just Outlook in the cloud, but also Outlook on your desktop, if I'm going to be able to be working on not just sales and processing orders, but I'm also communicating with my customers and going about some other daily business conversations, I don't want to have to go to multiple tools in order to do that. And so I'm able to access live Dynamics 365 for Financials data. If I'm using Microsoft Excel, I can read and write to it. I can update items. And when I'm creating, my quotes and invoices inside of Word, you have this, what you see is what you get type of atmosphere, so that I create this great looking invoice that I'm going to send out to my customer inside of Word that I'm familiar with using already, and you have that same rich experience that extends down to the end customer. We're also able to add industry-specific apps with ease. We realize that not every single business is going to be the same. For example, if you're in retail versus healthcare versus some other type of industry or vertical, medical, legal, so forth. I mean, there might be some specific apps that you need in order to integrate into your into your environment, and that's what we promote with Dynamics 365 for Financials. So you'll see that there are a ton of available industry applications that actually already integrate with what we've got today. We're also going to make sure that you automate and secure your business processes. Kind of as I mentioned earlier, what you run into with a lot of small businesses is that people are passing documents back and forth. They may not have a specific workflow. They may have a mental workflow of how things are supposed to work and who's supposed to get which document and who's supposed to approve what before it can go on to the next person. But we build those workflows and those processes directly into Dynamics 365 for Financials, so that if something needs to be approved, it gets put into a workflow that someone actually has to check off within Dynamics 365 for Financials before it actually gets passed on to the next stage. And so with that, we're able to actually audit who's done what. And I hate to be that finger pointer as to who did what or who didn't do what, but that's what Dynamics 365 is really able to provide for you. And so that means that you're going to ensure compliance with all these audit trails and still have that enterprise level security, because if something hasn't been approved yet, then maybe someone shouldn't be able to see it yet, right? And so that's why I love the fact that we've got all that built-in security there. So again, you're going to get that end-to-end view of your business. You're going to be able to centralize your data from accounting and sales. And again, this all integrates into what you might be using today, and I'll kind of talk about that right here in this next slide. And that's about gaining deeper insights, with advanced analytics. I know that I take a look at spreadsheets all day long, and I see all these numbers, all these fields, when things are going to happen, how much things cost, what's the inventory like, what's the price, what's the estimated retail. And so, there's just so many different things that you've got to look at, and numbers on a page, it's sometimes overload, right? And so with Dynamics 365 for Financials, there are some built-in analytics, but this also integrates in with Microsoft Power BI. So if you are using Office 365, and you are using the power of all that provides, including Power BI, that seamless integration is something that's really really cool. So while I'm on this topic, I'm seeing a question come up about Dynamics 365 for Financials and what might happen when the business version comes around, and that's a good question. Some people are wondering, like JJ, you're talking about all this great stuff, and Dynamics 365 for Financials seems like it's going to be great for my business today. And the good news is that if you start off with Dynamics 365 for Financials today and you go to the business version, there's not any upgrade that's going to have to happen, because it actually is already included inside the business plan. So no sense in worrying about that right now. So let me go ahead and move forward here and talk a little bit about being able to be fast from the start. So just like I said, we have people who want to be able to get going right away. So they'll take a look at a situation where maybe they've got like a QuickBooks end customer, and that QuickBooks end customer is outgrowing their solution, and they want to get started in the cloud. That's a perfect opportunity for you to start talking to that customer about Dynamics 365 for Financials, because we can move them to the cloud very easily. Dynamics 365 for Financials is easy to set up and manage, and in fact, it looks and feels just like Office, so people are up and running faster than you know it. We also make sure that from a mobile perspective, right, if you're on an iPad or an Android phone or a Windows phone or a Surface or a Windows laptop, you've got that great experience across all those different devices. So if you're ready for growth, take a look at Dynamics 365 for Financials. We're really excited about this solution, and again, this is just kind of a high-level discussion about Dynamics 365 for Financials and the Dynamics 365 family. So I did want to encourage you to go out, as I mentioned, to the Microsoft Partner University. You can do a simple Bing search, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And to end this kind of conversation on financials, I wanted to show you this slide because this gives you a good example of the core capabilities of those 5 components I talked about a little bit earlier. So when I go over financial management, we're talking about account receivables, payables, doing bank reconciliation, fixed asset management, and making sure that you can do a good job of that month and year-end closing. From a sales perspective, and this is still going to integrate in, for example, with your Dynamics 365 for sales applications, right? If I want to do quote generation, contact management, sales invoicing, and payment processing, you've got that to look forward to with Dynamics 365 for financials. On the purchasing side, you've got procurement, purchase line discounting, purchase order management, and vendor management. And then the last 2 right here with inventory management is about forecasting, inventory control, shipment and distribution, and then finally returns and cancellations. So I've got a great tool to link into the Dynamics 365 for financial. Finally, on the project management side, capacity planning, budgets and estimates, job and process costing, and then finally resource management. So you can see that this product is action-packed. Like I mentioned, it is available today. It's available through Tech Data Stream 1 platform, the CSP program there, and the estimated retail cost of that is $40 per user per month. And again, you don't have to give this to everyone in the organization. Even if everyone has Office 365 and just a few folks need Dynamics 365 for financials, you can mix and match and also give team members access to this so you don't have to pay as much. And incidentally, I didn't mention this earlier, but the team members' cost for the business plan versions of these apps, so Dynamics 365 for Financials is one of those. A team member that just needs to be able to read some of this data only costs $5 per user per month. So you can see that you can still provide a lot of value to everyone inside the organization. So what I wanted to do is now talk a little bit. I know I'm kind of switching gears completely here, but I know I have some people on the phone who have asked us about this. Is that we also realize that there, aside from Dynamics 365 for Financials, there are some customers of yours who, they were on CRM Online, and now that this new version of Dynamics 365 is available, what are they supposed to move to? What are they supposed to transition out of? And so this could be a good and a challenging story, I guess you could say, depending on your customer type. But I think at the end of the day, depending on the plan that they go with, they're definitely going to be definitely pleased by the power that they're going to receive. And so what this slide shows you right here is a flow chart that you're going to have to work through in your minds when you're going to talk to customers that are currently on CRM Online and how they can map to Dynamics 365. If they are, for example, using the enterprise version of CRM Online, and that's $200 in the old retail price measurements of CRM Online, they're actually going to be saving a ton of money by going to Enterprise Plan 1. Enterprise Plan 1, as I mentioned earlier, is $115. You're seeing some little values that say $115 to $60 right there, and the reason why is I'm going to talk about some transition offers that will allow you to kind of lower the cost of this for the next 3 years, and that could be a good fit for even some of your SMB customers. If a customer has CRM Online Professional, that was the SKU that we sold the most of from a CRM perspective at Tech Data, that was $65. Now at $65, you'll notice that when we move into the Dynamics 365 way of doing things, the prices are actually elevated a bit. But that's because you're also getting more, right, for what you're trying to do when you think about the overall plan perspective. But if someone is using Professional, CRM Online Professional, and they're looking to kind of migrate into the new family of products, they're going to have to decide, do they want to buy an individual app, such as sales or customer service, or do they want the full plan? And so depending on what they decide, that's what you're going to sell them. I'm seeing, like I said, a lot of customers who are thinking, well, I have a few people that they only are in the sales portion of it. I have a couple of people who are using all the features of CRM Online, so they need the full plan 1. Or maybe I've got some customers who I was selling like the basic version, and now they only need just team members, so they're actually going to save some money there. So you kind of going to go through this chart and decide, do I want an individual app? Do I want the full plan, or can I get away with just the less expensive but high-value team members version? And so the CRM Online transition offers that I'm about to go over right now are available through the MPSA licensing program, through CSP and Direct. So you can see how the retail prices I just mentioned are going to be a little bit less in cost because we want to make sure that we ease the transition into Dynamics 365. So if I am a customer who went direct, so I was purchasing CRM Online directly through the Microsoft Online Services portal, I'm going to be able to renew directly on CSP or renew through the direct model. If I was an open customer, so I bought CRM Online through the open program at Tech Data, I now only have the option to renew on CSP or through the direct model. Hopefully everyone's doing it through CSP if you can see what I'm getting at here. And obviously if you were on the CSP model and that's the way you purchased CRM Online in the past, you would renew on the CSP model. So as of November 1st, as I mentioned, the existing CRM Online SKUs were removed. If you saw them, it may have just been something that was lingering that needed to be cleaned up after November 1st. But customers with an existing subscription, so let's say I had purchased CRM Online for my end customers back in July, they're not going to automatically be upgraded. They're going to continue using CRM Online, so the traditional CRM Online that you're familiar with, until a year is up from when they started that agreement. Right, so they're still going to see the same look and feel, and we're not changing their contract terms of their agreement. However, when they're ready to renew, that's when they're going to have to make the transition into Dynamics 365. So if you were an existing customer, or if you had existing end customers as of October 31st of 2016, so about 18 days ago, then you will be eligible for the special transition pricing that I'm going to talk about right now. And the good news as well about that is that you've got 3 years to be eligible for this lower pricing because, again, we want to keep you as a CRM Online customer who's now transitioned to Dynamics 365. But this also gives you an opportunity to start talking to customers about, about the upsell process into each of these individual items. So let me talk about some of this transition pricing first. So if you had sold the CRM Online professional version of CRM Online, obviously, for $65 at the estimated retail cost of that price, we have a transition price available to you right now. If you decide you want to go with just the individual apps, such as the sales app or customer service app, that would be $76. If you do want to use the full plan, so Enterprise Plan 1, that would be $86. And you can see that there is about a $19 cost savings per user per month if you go with using this transition offer. Now, what we also had available at the same time is that if you happen to have purchased also Office 365 E3, a plan that included some of the Office apps, then you were also eligible for the CRM Online Productivity SKU. And that was that costed a little bit less at $50, but there is a transition price for those customers who had that SKU available to them and that were using them on October 31st. And that transition price would be $59 for the individual app and $66 if you happen to purchase the full plan instead. Now, what I like about the next plan right here, too, is to also show you that there are going to be some customers that say, you know what, I didn't have the enterprise plan. I had the professional CRM Online plan, but I also had some basic users. As you may or may not know, the basic CRM Online cost at an estimated retail price was $30. So now we have the decision, and that decision is, those basic members, they weren't able to do everything, again, the professional or enterprise users were able to do. So maybe now is the chance to transition those basic users down to a lower cost of $10 for the team members. So if I had a customer that, again, had a basic user and we wanted to still give them, a Dynamics 365 functionality, but they didn't need a lot in order to get the data they needed, maybe team members are the right way. But if they happen to actually need the full app and they were a basic user, we have a cost of $50 for the sales or customer service apps, or $57 if they decide to go to the full plan. One last thing here on now purchasing CRM Online, post November 1st. We realize that there are a lot of SMB customers out there who are going to say, wow, I love the power of what the Enterprise Edition is going to offer me. But unfortunately, I have some customers that aren't ready to make that jump just yet. And you've told me some exciting things about Dynamics 365 for Financials and how that's going to be part of the Business Edition. But if that's estimated to launch in spring 2017 or sometime around that time frame, what can I purchase today, or what should I take a look at? And so right now we actually have, from Microsoft and through Tech Data, a special offer for brand new customers. All that transition pricing that I talked about just a few slides ago, that's for existing CRM Online customers. But what happens if someone wants to start doing things today, and they are SMB customers that would like that business edition, but of course it's not available? For right now, and until I believe this is going to be until the launch of the Dynamics 365 for Sales Business Edition, you have the option to purchase Dynamics 365 for Sales, the Enterprise Edition, for only $40. Now the limit here is that it is only for new customers and is a maximum of 25 seats. And you will be able to use this Sales Enterprise Edition at that $40 rate for up to 3 years. This is only available through CSP, and this will work in conjunction with Dynamics 365 for Financials if you wanted that to collaborate on. All right. The Dynamics 365 for team members, the Enterprise Edition, we would offer that for $5. Traditionally, that SKU is $10. So really excited about everything that's coming up. I think that we're going to probably do a relaunch or a new webcast once the business edition of Dynamics 365 does fully become available. So look out for that, everyone. But hopefully for now you've seen that there's some great value in what you can purchase today. But what I wanted to do before I closed out the presentation was really talk to you about Tech Data and how Microsoft is partnering with Tech Data to provide the best cloud experience that we can in the distribution space. And so, if you're not familiar with how Tech Data works and our solutions in the cloud, you've got to take a look and give us a call. We really adhere to 3 core tenets, and that's access, power, and master. We want to give you access to all of Tech Data's line card, all these ISV solutions, including things like BitTitan and Rapid Start. We want to give you the power through the Stream 1 console to give you things like unique provisioning, billing, and end-user lifecycle management. You'll see that if you haven't used Stream 1 yet to provision a CSP tenant, it's a really cool experience, and we've got a lot of support from our team at Tech Data to help you through that process. And finally, on the mastery side, and this is kind of what we're doing today, right? It's giving you education and webinars and training and learning experiences to help you do well at working in this new world called the cloud. So some of the promos that we've got at Tech Data include an advisor to CSP incentive. Through the end of November, there is the ability for you to get a great advisor to CSP incentive. So up to $4,000 in MDF when switching some of your advisor seats to Microsoft Cloud. If you've got some of those older customers who are looking to move from the open program to CSP, same thing. I hope you can tell that the word of the day or the acronym of the day is CSP, 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 right? We want more and more of you to make sure you make that transition, especially into Tech Data Stream 1. Aside from Dynamics, we've got some great solutions that we're offering through Tech Data in conjunction with some of our partners, such as NetEnrich EMS Active Directory onboarding. If you've got customers that are looking to really harness the power of Azure Active Directory, I encourage you to take a look at our NetEnrich offering. And then if you've got customers that have a solution where they're currently on premises and they're hearing about this thing called Azure and moving virtual machines into the cloud, moving their infrastructure into the cloud, I'd encourage you to take a look at the Azure Health Check offer that we've got through Tech Data and with BitTitan. Essentially what that'll do is that'll run in the end customer's infrastructure, and it'll ferret out exactly what the workload needs are and how that would translate into the Azure space. And finally, we've got the Azure Jumpstart incentive. So new Tech Data Azure customers will receive a $100 credit to their account when they make their first Azure purchase through CSP of $100 or more. So that's kind of like getting a free 3 months, or not a free month, but a free $100 just for starting up. Finally, one last thing to talk about, again, not necessarily related to Dynamics 365, but something that I think all of you are going to be encouraged to take a look at, and that is that if you have not sold Windows Server or SQL through Tech Data in the past 3 months, you will be eligible for 2.5% off one of those new deals based on the SKUs that you're seeing over there on the right-hand part of the screen. Now, if you are a current Tech Data customer or Tech Data partner, you'll automatically see this at point of sale. So that promo pricing will be integrated into TechData.com. If you're having any problems with that, please reach out to the Microsoft team at Tech Data, and we can make sure that that's all taken care of for you. All right, so didn't see too many questions pop up into our window here, but if you have any more, go ahead and type them in. I'd be happy to see if I can address them, and any that I can, we'll get back to you just as soon as we can with as much information. I think that there were some questions about whether or not this deck will be available, and yes, we will obviously make it available as a PDF so that you can share it with other people in your organization or with other people that need to see it. So I think that's all I've really got, unless I see any other questions.
Hey, this is Michael again. Thank you. There was a lot of great information. You really powered through it. Appreciate that. I just noticed that most of those Tech Data and Microsoft promos you spoke about are wrapping up at the end of this month. So if people want to follow up on that, what was the best way to do that? Should they contact their rep at Tech Data? What was that email again?
Yeah, say Microsoft at TechData.com. Should be able to get you to the Microsoft team. We've got a great group of folks who monitor that email alias and are very prompt at answering inquiries that come through that. And obviously, if you have a representative at Tech Data that you're already working with, they can hit up our Microsoft team very quickly as well.
Okay, that sounds good. And as we mentioned, if you want to send another question our way, please do so. We'll begin wrapping up here in just a moment. We want to really thank you very much, JJ. It was a lot of great information that you presented today. And I wonder if we could just kind of step off the script just for a moment here. Yes, we just had another question about the deck. Yes, the deck will be available. You mentioned a lot about CSP, kind of over and over again. Do you have any advice for folks pursuing sort of trying to grow their business in different areas for their SMB customers? What do you see as sort of the number one direction do you think that you would suggest they go into?
I think that if you haven't evaluated the cloud yet, you may have not, or the cloud specifically through Microsoft, you may not have realized how much Microsoft is investing in working with partners today. And there's been so many iterations. So you saw those promos that we had at Tech Data around starting off, with customers that are on Advisor, moving them to CSP, or moving them from the Open program. Those are traditional ways of doing business in the cloud. But I think the best way to really get started is to think about the fact that you have the ability now through Tech Data Stream 1 platform to really create a whole solution. I know that I've got a lot of MSPs or managed service providers that are on the call today, and they're like, you know what? I love the fact that I can sell Office 365. I love the fact that I can sell Dynamics 365 for financials. I love the fact that I can sell Azure. But what I want to do is I want to come to my end customers with one broad solution and just offer that one monthly price to them without having to piece and parcel this up into multiple invoices and so forth. The power of CSP is the ability to put that all into one bill and to just give your customer that one bill and not have to worry about all these different solutions. So I think if you want to get started, Tech Data, all of our folks are trained on delivering that message and helping you understand the CSP value prop. So I encourage you to give them a call.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you very much for that wrap-up. Well, it looks like we are done for the day here. JJ, I want to thank you very, very much, and all the teams from Tech Data and Microsoft. And this is Michael Siggins, and on behalf of everybody here at Tech Data, Microsoft, and Channel Pro, I want to thank you for your time today. Really appreciate everybody sticking through for the whole presentation. Again, we will be following up with you with the links to the on-demand recording as well as the slide deck. So on behalf of everybody here, I want to thank you all. I wish you very, very happy holidays and good luck with your business at the end of the year and also into the new year. Thanks again, and we're going to wrap up here. Thank you, and bye-bye now.